can't take care of their own business. As we know, they recently illegally bombed yet another Venezuelan boat, and we may be headed for a war. We know that this particular president has decided that he wants to shake down people as it relates to the First Amendment, because he has filed not one lawsuit, not two lawsuits, but he has filed numerous lawsuits. He filed a lawsuit against the New York Times. He filed one against the Wall Street Journal, against CBS, against...
In this explosive episode of Think Big, we break down one of the most dramatic and politically charged congressional hearings you'll ever witness. A left-wing lawmaker unleashed a barrage of accusations against the Trump administration, calling it lawless, unconstitutional, and even claiming it covered for pedophiles. But when you peel back the noise and look at the facts, the truth tells a very different story. This video takes you inside that hearing, moment by moment, exposing the hypocrisy, emotional manipulation, and partisan theatrics that define today's political landscape. We dissect the so-called list of lawless acts point by point, revealing how executive...
A lot to cover, so I'm starting with the AG. I want you to tell me whether or not it's lawful or lawless ignoring court orders.
That's lawless.
Impounding congressional funds.
Violates the law.
Invoking emergency powers when there is no emergency.
Unlawful.
Sending troops without an invite.
Violates the law.
Covering for pedophiles. I just threw that one in there. Okay, I'll move to the next one. What about revoking birthright citizenship?
Violates the 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
How about violating due process?
Violates the 5th and 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
How about what we see happening with redistricting that would in some way minimize, if not delete, the voices of people of color as they are going through and illegally going through this process? Is there a constitutional amendment that you can think of that is associated with that?
Probably many, but it is unlawful and unconstitutional and un-American.
Thank you. As well as, can you tell me if it is lawful or lawless to violate free speech?
That's lawless.
Okay, sounds about right, because, you know, we had to have a conversation about Jimmy Kimmel, so I'm going to say free Jimmy Kimmel for sure, and hopefully we will deal with the FCC chairman. But the reason that I wanted to go through that long list, and that was actually not even the half of it, is because since this administration has come in on January 20th, they have engaged in some form of every single thing that I said on that list, even the part about covering for pedophiles. So my question is, why are we sitting here today? Number one, they already passed their bootleg laws, and it's clear that even the bill author is not well informed about what his bill does. Because as has already been stated, at the age of 18, you are an adult. So this idea that somehow 21-year-olds were now somehow juveniles under DC law, is that accurate or inaccurate?
It was inaccurate, misunderstood the way the law works.
Correct. Could not understand how to read the law and decided that they were going to rewrite the law and mess up the law. And to be clear, we were talking about judges being able to have enough discretion to decide whether or not they were going to give someone an opportunity maybe to clean their record, such as the bill author was given that opportunity under Florida law because his second felony was picked up when he was 21, to be clear. So he was older than 18. And under this law, if you were under, 25, so 24 or under, then the judges had discretion, correct?
But only in certain kinds of cases, not the most serious cases. And in fact, that discretion was, as we know, exercised very rarely. And it would have been an opportunity had the Congress wanted to talk with the folks who are involved in applying that law and seeing how it works, to understand that this is not a law that's out of sync with other states, and it's working.
Thank you so much. And the reason that it matters is because now the gentleman from Florida is trying to become a governor, and chances are maybe D.C., once they get statehood, could have had a future governor that had a second chance. But since they don't want other people to have chances that they've been given, they want to just pretend like they are bigger and better and badder than. So I will move on because I am frustrated that we are having this hearing when we know that this administration can't take care of their own business. As we know, they recently illegally bombed yet another Venezuelan boat, and we may be headed for a war. We know that this particular president has decided that he wants to shake down people as relates to the First Amendment, because he has filed not one lawsuit, not two lawsuits, but he has filed numerous lawsuits. He filed a lawsuit against the New York Times. He filed one against the Wall Street Journal, against CBS, against ABC, against the Des Moines Register. He is doing all of this because he wants to quash any speech that is not appreciative or lauding him, which is pretty much anything that's factual. So let's talk a few facts about these January 6 felons that should still be incarcerated because they went through the process, but because they were doing things on his behalf, of course, he wanted to let them go. So they released more than 1,000 people who participated in the insurrection on this government, many of whom who had previous criminal records, like Mr. Theodore Mendenforth, who was convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, or Mr. Peter Schwartz, who had 38 prior convictions, including one where he beat his wife by repeatedly punching and biting her. Trump also pardoned Mr. David Daniel, who was convicted of production and possession of child pornography. Trump also pardoned Mr. Daniel Ball, who, quote, threw an explosive device that detonated upon at least 25 officers during the Capitol riot. He also had a record for, quote, domestic violence by strangulation. I'm not done. Trump also pardoned Mr. Andrew Taki, who sent nudes to an undercover law enforcement officer who was posing as a 15-year-old girl. Mr. Casey Hopkins also received a pardon from Trump, and Mr. Hopkins was convicted of forcible rape. According to court records, he, quote, had forcible intercourse with the victim, choked her to the point of impairing her vision, banged her head into a wall, and urinated into the victim's mouth as he humiliated her. These are the people that he decided to release in the streets of D.C. So if anybody does need to clean up D.C., I would agree it is this man, because he is the one that is causing half the crime that we have. Not only is he participating in the crime, but we know that he instigated the insurrection. And if I did say that I had one issue with the Biden-Harris administration, it is the fact that they did not move forward and make sure that this man was put where he should have been put. Because the last time I checked as a criminal defense attorney, and Mr. Attorney General, you may have a different experience, but I never had a defendant that had 34 convictions for felonies and did not spend one day in jail. Never in my life. And the last time I checked, the party of law and order is the only one that decided that they would be out of order and decided to nominate someone who was not only indicted but was actually convicted of multiple felonies. That has never happened in this country, and it is a shame that we are dealing with it now, and now he wants to tell y'all how to do your jobs.
Okay.
Welcome back to Think Big. Before we dive into this unbelievable hearing, make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss our breakdowns of what's really happening behind the noise in Washington. We don't just talk politics. We uncover the truth that the mainstream refuses to admit. Now, let's get into this. What we just heard was a fiery and emotional speech, one loaded with accusations, contradictions, and political theater. The speaker tried to paint a picture of the Trump administration as lawless, corrupt, and un-American. But if you really listen closely, what comes through isn't truth. It's frustration, it's political opportunism, and it's another example of how the left twists the law to suit their own narrative. First off, let's talk about this so-called list of lawless acts. Ignoring court orders? Impounding congressional funds? Misusing emergency powers? All of these claims were thrown out there like candy, with no context, no evidence, and no understanding of executive authority. The Constitution gives the president certain powers, and whether you like it or not, presidents have used them for decades, Democrats included. Obama invoked emergency powers, Clinton sent troops without an invite, and Biden himself has ignored Supreme Court rulings. But suddenly, when Trump exercises those same powers, it's lawless. That's the double standard America is sick of. Then came the wild accusation about covering for pedophiles. No evidence. No proof. Just another emotional jab meant to shock and distract. It's a cheap political tactic. This is how the left operates. Throw mud, make it stick, and hope people don't ask questions. That's not leadership. That's desperation. The speaker went on to attack a bill's author, claiming he didn't understand his own legislation. But here's the irony. This hearing wasn't even about the bill. It became a soapbox for partisan outrage, not a discussion on law or policy. The speaker criticized leniency for young offenders while ignoring the left's constant push for leniency in their own cities, where criminals are released within hours of being arrested. They talk about justice reform when it fits their agenda but scream lawless when someone else does it differently. And then, right when you think it couldn't get more dramatic, they accuse the Trump administration of bombing a Venezuelan boat illegally and suggest we're heading toward war. No facts. No official record. Just another fear tactic to inflame emotions. This is the problem with today's political rhetoric. It's built on outrage, not accuracy. Now, let's address the big claim: Trump's pardons. The speaker listed a handful of individuals with serious criminal histories, trying to make it seem like Trump single-handedly flooded the streets with dangerous people. But what they didn't mention: presidents from both parties have granted controversial pardons. Clinton pardoned his own friends, donors, and even a fugitive billionaire. Obama commuted sentences for drug traffickers and even members of domestic terror groups. Where was the outrage then? It's selective memory at its finest. And the speaker's finale, accusing the party of law and order of being out of order because Trump was convicted in a politicized court. Let's be honest, what we're witnessing isn't justice, it's political persecution. It's the use of the justice system as a weapon to destroy a political opponent. That's not democracy. That's tyranny in disguise. This whole speech was one long attack designed to distract from the real failures of this administration: runaway inflation, open borders, rising crime, and global instability. They want you to forget about the cost of groceries, the danger in your neighborhood, and the weakness of our foreign policy. They want you to focus on Trump because they can't defend their own record. And let's not forget, the person who gave this speech claims to stand for justice, equality, and law. But where were those values when violent protesters burned down American cities in 2020? Where were those values when people were silenced online for disagreeing with the mainstream narrative? Where were those values when parents were labeled as extremists for speaking up at school board meetings? The hypocrisy is staggering. Here's the truth: America is at a crossroads. The left is using emotional manipulation and legal distortion to hold on to power. They call it justice, but it's vengeance. They call it patriotism, but it's control. We, as Americans, have to see through this and think big. Bigger than their noise, bigger than their lies, and bigger than the small-minded politics that divide us. So if you believe in truth, accountability, and freedom, if you believe in the America that our founders envisioned, then don't fall for the circus. Stay informed, stay bold, and most importantly, stay free. This has been Think Big. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so we can keep exposing the truth they don't want you to hear. Until next time, keep thinking big, America.